Did you know that something as simple as the fruit you eat at night may quietly raise your risk of a stroke while you sleep? Without pain, without warning, and without a single sign that anything is wrong? You go to bed feeling fine, your evening calm, your routine familiar, but sometime between midnight and sunrise, inside the aging vessels of the brain, everything can change. No dizziness, no chest pain, no clue that your blood pressure is shifting, your heart rhythm is straining, or your blood is thickening. And then morning comes. You wake up confused, struggling to speak, unable to move an arm, a sudden weakness you never expected, a stroke, silent and devastating, triggered not by stress or diet or smoking, but by everyday fruits older adults in America eat believing they're completely safe. As a doctor who has cared for seniors for decades, I've seen this pattern far too many times. Not from junk food, not from salt, but from fruit eaten at the wrong time, in the wrong body, under the hidden rules of aging. So stay with me, because what you're about to learn may save your life. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Grapefruit, the hidden fruit that can trigger strokes overnight. For most of our lives, grapefruit has carried the reputation of being a healthy American breakfast fruit. Many older adults grew up eating it with a sprinkle of sugar before heading out to school or work. It feels familiar, safe, almost comforting. But what most people over 60 in the United States never learned, because no one ever told them, is that this one fruit can quietly turn dangerous the moment your medications and your aging blood vessels enter the picture. Grapefruit contains a natural compound called furanocoumarin, something you cannot see, smell, or taste. But once it enters your body, it interferes with the liver enzyme that processes nearly half of all common heart and blood pressure medications used by seniors across America: statins, calcium channel blockers, beta blockers, blood thinners, anti-anxiety medications, even certain drugs for arrhythmia, all rely on that enzyme to keep levels balanced. But furanocoumarin blocks that enzyme, almost like turning off a safety valve. Suddenly, the medication you've taken faithfully every night doesn't break down normally. Instead of protecting your heart, the medication builds up in your bloodstream to levels far higher than intended. And while you sleep, when your blood pressure naturally shifts, when your heart rhythm changes, when your vessels are already more fragile because of age, this buildup can create the perfect storm inside the brain. Your blood becomes unstable. Pressure spikes or drops without warning. The lining of your arteries becomes irritated. Platelets respond by becoming stickier. And in this vulnerable nighttime window, a clot can form silently. It forms blood clots, deeply lodged where you could never feel it happening. One small clot drifting upward toward the brainstem, one sudden surge of pressure in the cerebral arteries, and within seconds, the fruit you believed was harmless becomes the trigger. It triggers strokes. Most older adults don't know that strokes from grapefruit interactions often happen while they're asleep, when the body is least able to compensate. You go to bed thinking everything is normal. You wake up unable to speak clearly, with one side of your face drooping, or your arm too weak to lift. Sometimes you don't wake up at all. Doctors see this pattern every year. Seniors with no new symptoms, no recent infections, no skipped medication, only one thing in common: grapefruit consumed regularly, often at night, without realizing how dramatically it multiplies the power of their heart medication. And the risk is even higher if you enjoy grapefruit juice because juice contains concentrated amounts of the same compound and can keep the enzyme blocked for more than 24 hours. In older adults, especially those with stiffened arteries, mild kidney decline, or long standing hypertension, this interaction becomes more dangerous with each passing decade. The worst part? You cannot predict who will be affected. You cannot feel the buildup happening. The body gives no early warning. That silence is what makes it so frightening. For seniors who treasure their independence, their memory, their ability to walk, speak, and live on their own terms, knowing the truth about grapefruit isn't fear-mongering, it is protection. A simple habit, something as small as choosing a different breakfast fruit or avoiding grapefruit after dinner, can mean the difference between waking up refreshed or waking up to a life changed forever. And if grapefruit can do this quietly, imagine what happens with another fruit that millions of seniors consider harmless, one that seems soft, gentle, and easy to digest. Yet, in the wrong body, it can send potassium soaring, disrupt the heart's rhythm, and spark the kind of nighttime stroke no one ever expects. Let me show you the fruit that becomes far more dangerous after age 60. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. Bananas, the healthy fruit that can overload the heart overnight. For decades, bananas have been seen as the safest fruit for older adults. Soft, gentle on the stomach, easy to digest, easy to chew. Many seniors in America eat a banana every evening, believing it helps them sleep better or settle their digestion before bed. It feels innocent, almost like a comfort food from childhood. But what most people over 60 never realize is that this simple fruit, so familiar and so trusted, can become dangerous in the quiet hours of the night, especially for a heart or kidneys no longer functioning the way they did at 30 or 40. Bananas are packed with potassium. Under normal circumstances, potassium is essential. It keeps your heartbeat steady, your nerves working, your muscles strong. But as we age, the body becomes less efficient at controlling this mineral. Kidney function declines slowly, often without symptoms. Many seniors are also prescribed medications that already raise potassium levels: ACE inhibitors, ARBs, potassium sparing diuretics like spironolactone, certain heart medications, and even some blood pressure pills. Add a banana or two on top of that mix, especially at night, and suddenly the amount of potassium in the bloodstream becomes more than your heart can handle. High potassium doesn't announce itself with sharp pain or warning signs. It creeps in quietly. First, it slows the heart. Then it disturbs the rhythm. Skipped beats, pauses, sudden bursts of fast or irregular rhythm that you may never feel while asleep. When potassium rises too high, the heart's electrical signals begin to misfire, like a house with faulty wiring. And during the early morning hours, when blood pressure naturally rises and the nervous system shifts into a more active state, this unstable heartbeat becomes the perfect trigger point. A heart that stumbles overnight sends chaotic blood flow to the brain. Pressure may drop suddenly or surge unpredictably. In that moment of instability, the blood can thicken just enough, the flow can slow just enough that a clot forms in a narrowed or aging vessel. It forms blood clots silently. It drifts upward. It settles where oxygen is needed most. And when the heart tries to correct itself, that clot can dislodge and shoot directly into the brain. This is how bananas, sweet, harmless, comforting bananas, can trigger strokes during sleep for seniors with vulnerable hearts or kidneys. Many older adults wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. feeling strange, weak on one side, confused, unable to speak clearly. They blame dehydration or poor sleep, but in the ER, labs show potassium levels far above normal. An EKG shows disturbances that happened hours before they even opened their eyes. And the doctors can trace one of the causes back to the evening routine: a banana eaten at bedtime, stacked on top of medications, and age-related kidney decline. The danger becomes even greater for seniors who deal with nighttime leg cramps and reach for bananas thinking it will help. For some, it does. But for others, those with borderline kidney function or heart disease, this habit becomes fuel for a silent storm. What once felt soothing becomes a risk no one warned them about. And the tragedy is that most people never suspect fruit. They worry about salt, sugar, alcohol, heavy meals, yet ignore the small foods that slip past the radar. But after 60, the body changes the rules. Foods that used to nourish can suddenly overwhelm, even damage the organs working hardest to keep you alive. If something as soft and humble as a banana can shake the heart's rhythm and set the stage for a nighttime stroke, imagine what happens with a fruit far more concentrated. A fruit that hides 3 to 4 times the sugar of anything fresh. A fruit that thickens the blood through the night and quietly raises the risk of early morning clots. Let's talk about the fruit that becomes even more dangerous once it's dried. 3. Dried fruits. The sweet snack that thickens the blood while you sleep. Among all the foods older Americans enjoy at night, few seem more harmless than dried fruits. A handful of raisins, a few dried apricots, a couple of dates. Soft, sweet, easy to chew, easy to digest. Many seniors keep them by the bedside or in the kitchen for a quick snack before settling into their recliner or heading to bed. These fruits feel comforting, nostalgic even, reminding us of childhood lunchboxes, holiday tables, and family traditions. But once you reach your 60s, the harmless sweetness you once loved begins to play by different rules. Rules that shift dramatically as your metabolism slows, your blood vessels stiffen, your blood becomes thicker, and your insulin response weakens. Dried fruits are not like fresh fruits. When water is removed, the natural sugars become highly concentrated, often 3 to 4 times stronger than in their fresh form. A small handful can contain more sugar than an entire bowl of grapes or several peaches. And when eaten at night, after dinner, when the body is winding down and the metabolism is slower, this concentrated sugar hits the bloodstream with surprising force. For many older adults, especially those with prediabetes, diabetes, high triglycerides, or high blood pressure, this surge becomes dangerous. Glucose spikes during sleep lead to increased blood viscosity. Your blood becomes thicker, stickier, slower. And slow blood is the enemy of aging arteries. When blood moves sluggishly through vessels that are already narrowed or stiff from years of wear, it can pool, it can stagnate. And in those quiet nighttime hours, as the body transitions into deep sleep and blood pressure naturally drops, this environment becomes ideal for clot formation. It forms blood clots silently, without pain, without warning. Then comes early morning, a period neurologists call the danger window. Between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m., the body releases hormones that raise blood pressure and activate the cardiovascular system. For most healthy people, this shift is harmless. But for someone who went to bed with thickened blood, elevated sugar, and vulnerable vessels, this shift becomes the spark. The clot that formed hours earlier may now dislodge, move upward, and block a delicate artery in the brain. And in an instant, often before your feet touch the floor, it triggers strokes that change everything: your speech, your movement, your independence, even your memory. The saddest part is that many seniors don't see the danger coming because dried fruits don't feel like candy. They feel natural. They feel wholesome. But the body doesn't care about perception. It only reacts to chemistry. And the chemistry of dried fruits is unforgiving. Rapid glucose absorption, insulin spikes, vascular stress, morning blood pressure surges, and clot formation. These are not abstract risks. These are the exact conditions physicians see again and again in seniors who wake up confused, dizzy, numb, or unable to articulate their own name. And the danger becomes even greater for older adults who eat dried fruits to avoid unhealthy snacks at night. They believe they are making the better choice. But the truth is that for a 65-year-old with diabetes or a 78-year-old on blood-thinning medications, this choice can be far more harmful than they ever imagined. If something as innocent as a raisin can thicken the blood overnight, imagine what happens when a fruit pulls fluid out of your body instead, leaving you dehydrated, lowering your nighttime blood pressure, and creating the perfect conditions for a stroke the moment you shift positions in bed. Let's move to the fruit that drains the body quietly and turns early morning dizziness into something far more dangerous. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Watermelon, the nighttime hydrator that can leave the aging brain unprotected. For most of our lives, watermelon has been the symbol of summer in America. Picnics, barbecues, grandchildren running across the yard with sticky hands and bright red smiles. As we get older, the fruit seems even more appealing, soft, refreshing, and full of water. Many seniors reach for it at night, thinking it will help them stay hydrated, soothe heartburn, or replace heavier snacks. But after age 60, the body doesn't respond to watermelon the way it once did. What feels cooling and harmless on the tongue can quietly turn into a dangerous imbalance deep inside the cardiovascular system during the night. Watermelon is more than water. It acts as a natural diuretic containing high levels of citrulline and fluids that trigger the kidneys to release more urine. That can be beneficial during the day. But at night, when older adults are already more prone to dehydration, blood pressure fluctuations, and electrolyte shifts, this diuretic effect becomes risky. Many seniors wake up to use the bathroom multiple times, but they rarely understand what happens inside the body in between those trips. Every time you urinate at night, fluid leaves the bloodstream. Your blood becomes slightly thicker, and in a body with stiffened arteries, decreased kidney function, or a heart that doesn't pump as forcefully as it once did, this change is meaningful. As dehydration progresses silently through the night, the blood's viscosity rises. Thicker blood moves more slowly through aging vessels, especially those in the brain and neck that are already narrower from decades of natural wear. When blood slows down, it can pool. When it pools, it can stagnate. And when it stagnates, especially in the early morning hours when the body prepares for waking, it forms blood clots, small but deadly. These clots sit quietly until the moment the heart's morning surge pushes them forward, and then, with no warning at all, it triggers strokes that steal speech, balance, memory, or even consciousness. This is why so many seniors report waking up dizzy, lightheaded, or disoriented after a night of multiple bathroom trips. They believe it's just aging. But in reality, their brain may have experienced temporary drops in blood pressure or short periods of reduced blood flow. Imagine lying down after losing fluids, your blood pressure falling lower as you drift into sleep, your brain fighting to maintain the circulation it depends on. For someone in their 70s or 80s, especially those on blood pressure medications, diuretics, or heart medications, that effort can be overwhelming. Watermelon eaten late at night can also interact with existing medical issues. Seniors with heart failure may already retain or release fluids unpredictably. Those with diabetes, especially if they eat watermelon thinking it is just fruit, may see blood sugar spike, adding even more stress on blood vessels. And for individuals with chronic kidney disease, the nighttime fluid shifts caused by watermelon can create blood pressure swings that increase the risk of a stroke before morning. And the danger is so silent. No pain, no warning, just a fruit you've trusted all your life. You fall asleep believing you've made a healthy choice, and meanwhile, your brain is struggling through the dark hours without the hydration, balance, or blood stability it needs. But perhaps the most troubling part is this. While watermelon can drain the body overnight, there is another fruit that quietly overloads it, pushing blood sugar and blood pressure upward in ways far more forceful than most seniors ever expect. If you think losing fluid is dangerous, wait until you learn what happens when a fruit sends sugar surging through your bloodstream while you sleep, setting the stage for clots that strike with the sunrise. 5. Sweet grapes, the innocent fruit that can spike blood sugar and strain the aging brain overnight. For many older Americans, grapes are the easiest fruit to trust. They're small, seedless, effortless to chew, and gentle on the stomach. A bowl of sweet red or black grapes on the nightstand feels comforting, almost like a familiar friend you've known your entire life. Seniors across the country snack on them while watching television, reading before bed, or fighting late night cravings. But once your body crosses into the years after 60, the truth about grapes becomes far more complicated and far more dangerous than most people ever imagine. Modern supermarket grapes are not the grapes many of us grew up eating. Over the past few decades, commercial varieties sold in the United States have been bred to be exceptionally sweet, with sugar concentrations far higher than they once were. A small handful, just 10 or 12 grapes, can deliver a surprisingly high dose of fructose. And when this sugar hits the bloodstream at night, when your metabolism slows, your insulin response weakens, and your blood vessels are already more fragile due to age, the impact is far from harmless. As the sugar rush enters the bloodstream, the body reacts. Blood glucose spikes sharply, causing insulin to surge. In younger adults, this spike is often managed quickly. But for seniors, especially those with prediabetes, diabetes, high blood pressure, or vascular disease, the regulation is slower and rougher. High overnight blood sugar thickens the blood subtly but significantly, increasing viscosity at a time when the brain depends on steady, smooth circulation. When thicker blood moves through narrowed or stiffened arteries, particularly in the neck or deep inside the brain, it can begin to slow down. And slow blood is exactly where danger grows. As circulation stagnates, even briefly, the risk for clot formation rises. It forms blood clots quietly during the very hours when you're sound asleep, unaware of the internal storm building beneath the surface. Then, as dawn approaches and the body releases hormones that boost blood pressure for waking, these clots can break loose. In a matter of seconds, they can travel upward and block a vital artery. And just like that, it triggers strokes. Strokes that strike without warning, without pain, without even giving you a chance to call out for help. Many older adults wake up after a night of sweet snacks feeling off, a foggy head, a numb hand, a slightly drooping smile. They dismiss it as fatigue. But in emergency rooms across America, doctors see the truth. Blood sugar that ran too high overnight, blood pressure that spiked at dawn, and small, preventable clots that stole function from the brain. The danger is doubled for seniors who combine grapes with blood pressure medication at night. As the sugar rush goes up, the medication may push pressure down. The body fights to stabilize itself, and the struggle between rising sugar and falling pressure creates a perfect setup for circulatory instability, a condition neurologists know all too well in older patients who arrive at dawn with sudden neurological deficits. And perhaps the scariest part is that no one warns you about fruit. We warn about salt. We warn about alcohol. We warn about fried foods and heavy meals. But grapes? They look like nature's candy. And for seniors, that is exactly the problem. Nature's candy still acts like candy once it enters the bloodstream. And after 60, your body treats sugar very differently from how it used to. If grapes, something so tiny and innocent, can disrupt blood flow and set the stage for early morning clots, imagine what happens with fruit that hides inside a syrup-filled metal can. Fruit so soaked in sugar and preservatives that it can push blood pressure higher than some desserts. What comes next is the fruit seniors trust the most, yet it's the only one that can push both blood sugar and sodium upward at the same time. Let me show you why canned fruits in syrup may be even more dangerous than you think. 6. Canned fruits in syrup. The sweet convenience that quietly pressures the aging heart at night. For decades, canned fruits have been a staple in American households. Many older adults grew up opening a can of peaches or pears after Sunday dinner, or serving fruit cocktail to their children without a second thought. As aging makes chewing more difficult and fresh fruit harder to keep on hand, canned fruits, soft, sweet, easy to store, seem like the perfect solution. For many seniors living alone or on fixed incomes, they're familiar, affordable, and comforting. But hidden beneath that syrupy sweetness is a combination that the aging heart and brain are far less prepared to handle than most people realize. What makes canned fruits dangerous for older adults isn't the fruit itself, it's the syrup. Thick, heavy, concentrated syrup filled with refined sugar, preservatives, and in many cases more sodium than most people notice. A half-cup serving can contain the sugar equivalent of several cookies. And when eaten at night, when the metabolism slows and blood vessels naturally relax, this sudden sugar load hits the bloodstream with surprising force. For seniors, especially those with diabetes, prediabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, vascular dementia, or simply the natural stiffening of arteries that comes with age, this nighttime sugar spike is far from harmless. Blood sugar rises sharply. Insulin struggles to respond. And as glucose builds up in the bloodstream, the blood begins to thicken. Thickened blood moves sluggishly through fragile vessels, especially in the brain. When circulation slows, it can pool in narrow areas of the carotid arteries or the tiny vessels deep within the brain. And in these pockets of stagnation, it forms blood clots silently. Adding to the danger, many canned fruits contain trace sodium from preservatives. While it might seem small, Even a modest sodium bump late at night can raise blood pressure at exactly the wrong time. When thickened blood meets elevated pressure inside aging arteries, the stress becomes immense. And as dawn approaches, the period when the body's natural hormonal surge causes blood pressure to rise even higher, those small, quiet clots can suddenly break loose. Within moments, it triggers strokes that strike without warning, often before a senior has even fully opened their eyes. Doctors see this pattern more often than people think. A senior goes to bed feeling fine, having enjoyed a bowl of canned peaches or fruit cocktail. Hours later, with blood sugar spiking, blood pressure rising, and circulation slowing, the conditions quietly align. Why morning? They wake with a weak arm, a numb leg, or slurred speech, unable to understand what happened during the night. The tragedy is that the culprit wasn't a heavy meal or alcohol. It was a simple bowl of fruit they believed was safe. And this danger becomes even greater for seniors who eat canned fruit because it goes down easily. Many older adults with poor appetite, difficulty swallowing, or dental issues choose canned fruit at night to avoid harder foods. But the very softness and sweetness that make it easy to eat are the same features that cause its sugar to enter the bloodstream rapidly, overwhelming the body at its most vulnerable time. The aging heart does not recover from sugar surges overnight the way it once did. The brain does not tolerate swings in pressure the way it used to. And the vessels that once carried blood effortlessly now feel every fluctuation, every spike, every drop. What makes this so frightening is how innocent it looks. A bowl of fruit, a spoon, a bedtime habit formed decades ago. No one imagines that syrup-soaked peaches could strain the heart or disrupt the delicate balance inside the brain while they sleep. But if syrup can push blood pressure upward and thicken the bloodstream, consider what happens when a fruit does the opposite. When it turns acidic, triggers reflux, disrupts nighttime breathing, and stresses the heart in an entirely different way. Because the next fruit on the list doesn't just raise sugar, it interferes with the way your body breathes, digests, and stabilizes itself through the night. Let's talk about the tropical fruits that can quietly spark the perfect storm while you sleep. 7. Mangoes and pineapples. The tropical fruits that disrupt nighttime circulation and push the aging brain into danger. Mangoes and pineapples carry a sense of joy for many older Americans. They remind us of vacations, family gatherings, summer cookouts, and warm weather. Their bright colors and sweet, tangy flavor feel like a small escape, especially at night when you crave something refreshing and easy on the palate. Many seniors turn to these fruits after dinner, thinking they are making a healthier choice, something light, natural, and comforting. But inside the aging body, these tropical fruits behave very differently from what most people expect, especially once the sun goes down. What makes mangoes and pineapples risky for older adults isn't just the sugar, though both fruits carry high amounts of natural fructose. It's the combination of acidity, sugar load, and the way aging digestion changes after 60. When you eat acidic, sugary fruit close to bedtime, the stomach responds aggressively. These fruits can trigger reflux, especially in seniors with GERD, a condition that becomes more common with age. And nighttime reflux doesn't just cause discomfort. It interrupts breathing patterns, increases stress hormones, and raises heart rate while you sleep. The moment acid rises, the vagus nerve reacts, sending chaotic signals to the heart. For younger bodies, this may cause nothing more than a flutter. But for older adults, especially those with atrial fibrillation, hypertension, or stiffened arteries, these sudden shifts can become dangerous. As reflux disturbs the night, the heart struggles to maintain a steady rhythm. Blood pressure fluctuates. Insulin rises to handle the sugar. Cortisol spikes from the discomfort. And silently, beneath every shift, the blood grows thicker, heavier, more unstable. When sugar remains elevated overnight, the bloodstream becomes more viscous, and slower moving blood in aging vessels can begin to pool. In those still, fragile hours before sunrise, it forms blood clots deep in the vessels that supply the brain. And just when the body tries to transition into morning, when blood pressure naturally rises and the cardiovascular system switches on, these small hidden clots can break loose. They travel upward through narrow arteries that can no longer expand the way they once did, and in a single moment, it triggers strokes that rob a senior of speech, balance, memory, or independence. Doctors see this chain reaction often. A sweet late-night snack leads to reflux. Reflux disturbs breathing. Breathing changes, stress the heart, and sugar destabilizes circulation. By morning, the combination becomes the perfect storm. A clot that formed silently during the night finally finds its way to the brain. And the patient wakes up confused, numb, or unable to form words, never imagining that a simple bowl of mango slices or pineapple chunks contributed to the event. The danger is highest for seniors who already struggle with nighttime breathing, those with sleep apnea or snoring. The acidity of these fruits increases airway irritation. The sugar worsens metabolic stress. The heart must fight harder for oxygen in a body that is already losing efficiency with age. Every part of the system is strained. And when strain is paired with thickened blood and unstable pressure, the risk becomes real. Not dramatic, not exaggerated, but medically real. The tragedy is that tropical fruits feel harmless. They feel luxurious, refreshing, even nourishing. And during the day, in moderation, they often are. But at night, inside an aging cardiovascular system, they can behave unpredictably and sometimes dangerously. And if these 7 fruits each hold hidden risks that can build silently overnight, you may be wondering, what does all of this mean for your daily routine? What should seniors truly avoid, adjust, or rethink if they want to protect their brain every single night? Let's bring every lesson together and uncover the essential truth older Americans need to hear. Final wake-up call: the truth. Every senior must know before going to bed tonight. After walking through all 7 fruits, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The aging body no longer plays by the rules you grew up with. What was once harmless, refreshing, or healthy can shift into something unpredictable once your heart, kidneys, blood vessels, and metabolism begin to change after 60. The danger does not come from the fruit itself, but from the way it interacts with your medical conditions, your medications, your nighttime physiology, and the natural slowing of the systems that once protected you effortlessly. Each fruit carried its own silent threat. Grapefruit disrupts medication levels. Bananas overload the heart when kidneys weaken. Dried fruits thicken the blood during the night. Watermelon dehydrates at the very hours when your brain needs stability. Sweet grapes spike glucose and strain fragile vessels. Canned fruits push sugar and sodium upward at the worst moment. Mangoes and pineapples upset breathing, digestion, and circulation all at once. The story is different for each fruit, but the message is the same. Nighttime is the most vulnerable time for the aging brain. Your blood pressure dips and rises. Your heart rhythm shifts. Your breathing changes. your vessels narrow, your blood thickens more easily. And in these quiet hours, while you sleep unaware, small choices can have consequences larger than you ever expected. When sugar surges, or pressure spikes, or hydration drops, or medication levels swing, the delicate balance inside the aging body falters. And in that moment of instability, clots can form, circulation can slow, and strokes can be triggered before the sun rises. But here is the part that matters most. You still have control. The foods you choose at night can either protect your brain or quietly endanger it. Avoiding high-sugar fruits before bed, spacing your fruit intake earlier in the day, drinking water steadily, maintaining stable medication routines, and understanding how your body responds after 60. These small changes can safeguard the life you've worked so hard to build. Because in the end, sleep is not just rest. Sleep is when the body reveals the truth, whether it's being supported or silently strained. And tonight, as you reach for a snack or prepare for bed, ask yourself the only question that truly matters. Is this choice helping my brain stay alive until morning? These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.